Your cover letter is worthless. I know that's not what you want to hear. You spent time crafting it, tweaking it, maybe even borrowed parts from someone else's. You might think it's an essential part of your tender submission, but I want to challenge that assumption. Because this is the truth. In many cases, your cover letter has no impact at all. Worse, it might be ignored entirely. So why do we keep using them, and how should we actually approach them if we want to have real leverage? That's what we're going to unpack today. So let's be honest, who actually drafted your cover letter? Did you start from scratch, carefully considering every word? Or did you take something someone else had written, maybe a groundworks contractor, an M&E firm, or even a competitor, and swap out a few details? Maybe you deleted references to ground conditions and inserted a note about steelwork installation instead. It feels like it's yours now. But here's the problem. That letter wasn't written for you. It wasn't designed for your specific situation, your risks, or your business model. And here's the reality. Because it's been tweaked and diluted over time, it might not even be saying what you think it's saying anymore. And worse still, you might be leaving out critical clarifications that protect you just because they weren't in the original template. So instead of securing your position, you're handing over control without even realizing it. Even if you write the perfect, airtight, beautifully crafted cover letter, there's a good chance the client ignores it completely. They issue an order and guess what? It doesn't reflect the terms you outlined. Instead, they attach their own terms and conditions. Some of those terms will match yours, others will contradict them. And some, let's be real, will completely override your cover letter altogether. And they might even include a clause that says anything stated in your cover letter is disregarded. At this stage, your carefully worded document is basically a polite introduction. It's just a formality, it holds no weight. So here's where you need to get smart. Once that order lands on your desk, you have a choice to make. What's negotiable and what's non-negotiable? Are you willing to accept longer payment terms? Can you live with a liquidated damages clause? What about liability caps, retentions, delay penalties? Because if you haven't thought about these things beforehand, if you haven't read your own cover letter properly and understood what you're actually committing to, you're at a disadvantage. At this point, it's not about what you want it to be in the contract, it's about what actually made it into the contract. So before you sign anything, before you start work, you need clarity. What are you willing to stand your ground on, and what can you let go? So if cover letters are often ignored, what should you do instead? You need to understand what's in your contract before you submit a tender. Don't just focus on pricing. What terms do you actually need to protect yourself? Don't assume your cover letter will safeguard you. Instead, anticipate that the client will issue their own terms and think ahead about which ones you can accept and which you can't. When the order comes in, make sure you review it. Does it match what you expected? Are there deal breakers hidden in the fine print? Be prepared to negotiate. Your power isn't in a generic cover letter. It's in understanding what you're agreeing to and having the confidence to push back on the terms that could hurt your business. So let me ask you, have you actually read your own cover letter recently? And if you have, do you truly understand what's in it? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to stop relying on outdated templates and start focusing on what really matters, getting the right terms in your contracts. So drop a comment below. Have you ever had a cover letter completely ignored? Have you ever been burned by hidden contract clauses? Let's talk about it.